Let me take you somewhere. Not to a place you've never been, but to a place you've never seen, even though you live there. A place more confining than any prison, more silent than any desert, more exhausting than any battlefield. It's the place inside your mind where the version of you that's never good enough is locked away behind the bars of what you should be. This is the prison of your expectations, and it's invisible. That's what makes it so dangerous. You wake up and immediately compare your morning to a fantasy. You look in the mirror and scan for flaws, not just physical imperfections, but anything that doesn't match the image you had in your head of who you were supposed to be by now. You go to work, chase goals, check boxes, but inside you feel like you're faking it, pretending to be motivated, pretending to be okay, pretending to care. Because if you slow down, if you stop for just a moment, the truth rushes in. You're living a life built more on fear than freedom, fear of failure, fear of being ordinary, fear of letting others down, fear of looking in the mirror and realizing you don't even recognize the person you've become. But how did we get here? How did we become prisoners in a cell we helped build? It starts long before we understand what we're agreeing to. From the moment we're born, the world begins to shape us. Parents project their unfinished dreams onto us. Teachers rank us, reward us, compare us. Culture paints pictures of success, beauty, love, happiness, clean, filtered, edited, and we, so eager to belong, absorb it all. By the time we're teenagers, we're not individuals, we're blueprints, copies of expectations. We start to believe things like, you must be successful by 25 or you've failed. You must look a certain way to be desirable. You must have it all figured out by 30. You must keep going, even when your soul is screaming for rest. You must never be lost, never be confused, never be vulnerable. So we wear these beliefs like armor. We call it being ambitious. We call it grinding. We call it self-improvement. But in truth, it's survival. We're not building ourselves. We're hiding from ourselves. And the saddest part, most people will die in that prison, still chasing, still pretending, still never asking the most dangerous and liberating question a person can ask. What if none of this was ever mine to begin with? Pause here. Breathe. You need to know that you're not broken for feeling this way. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're not a failure. You are simply someone who's waking up to the truth, a truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The truth that the life you've built, your schedule, your priorities, your image, your relationships, might be built on the shaky foundation of inherited dreams. And dreams that aren't yours will never feel like home. So what do? How do you escape this prison when the prison is built from thoughts, fears, patterns so deeply embedded you don't even know they're there? It begins here, with awareness. Because what you can't see, you can't change. And what you won't face will keep controlling you. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a man who's been locked in a dark cell for 30 years. He's forgotten the outside world. The darkness is normal. The chains feel like skin. Now imagine someone comes and tells him, "You're free. The door was never locked." He doesn't believe it. How could he? The prison feels real, and that's where most people are. They hear phrases like, "You're not your thoughts. You can let go. You can choose a different path." But it sounds like fiction, because the prison isn't made of steel. It's made of memory, conditioning, familiarity. To escape, he must do something terrifying. He must stand up. He must question the only reality he's ever known. He must walk into uncertainty with no guarantee of what he'll find. And you must do the same. You must challenge the expectations that have been ruling you. You must ask, who told me that success only looks one way? Who told me that being constantly busy is a badge of honor? Who told me that rest equals laziness? Who told me that love has to look like it does in movies? Who told me I have to be extraordinary to be worthy of peace? Because once you begin asking, something beautiful happens. The prison starts to crack. Not all at once, not dramatically, but piece by piece, breath by breath, you start to see that these expectations are optional. They're not facts, they're stories, and stories can be rewritten. Now that awareness is here, let's move to the next stage, unlearning, because knowledge is only power when it's applied. Unlearning is not about erasing everything you know. It's about identifying what no longer serves you and daring to release it. This means you need to grieve. Yes, grieve. Grieve the version of you who tried so hard to be perfect. Grieve the years spent chasing approval. Grieve the dreams that were never yours but carried so much weight. This grief is not weakness, it's rebirth. Because from that grief, a new question emerges. If I am no longer what they expect me to be, what do I want to become? And that is where freedom begins. So let's sit with that question. If I am no longer who they expected me to be, then who am I? This question is not small. It's not simple. It's not cute or poetic. It is radical. Because to answer it honestly, you must first admit that you've spent most of your life answering to someone else's version of you. That your identity may have been pieced together from fragments of family demands, social pressures, economic fears, childhood wounds, cultural norms, and not from anything real, not from anything essential, not from anything you. You wore masks, you played roles, you performed, and maybe you did it so well that the world rewarded you. Promotions, praise, popularity. But inside, something remained numb, flat, absent, because external success without internal alignment doesn't feel like victory. It feels like pretending to smile while drowning in quiet confusion. So now you are here, asking the hard question, how do I begin to live from within instead of for the world? The answer is not a list. It's not a five-step method. It's a way of being, a mindset, a philosophy. And the first tenet of that philosophy is this: you are not fixed. Who you are is not a static identity. It is a moving force, a river, not a rock. And that is both terrifying and liberating. Because if you're not fixed, then you're not trapped. But if you're not fixed, then nothing you've achieved, earned, or built can define you forever. You get to choose again. You get to reinvent. But to do so, you have to break your addiction to certainty. You have to let go of needing everything to make sense right now. Let me repeat that. You must let go of needing your life to make perfect sense in this moment. Because meaning doesn't show up on demand. It emerges over time through attention, reflection, and experience. Most people panic in the space between identities. They leave behind their old self, but don't yet know who they're becoming. That space, the in-between, feels like death. But it's actually birth. It's what the Greeks called metanoia, a profound transformation of the self, not cosmetic, not strategic, but existential. And like all births, it comes with pain. You'll feel disoriented. You'll second guess yourself. You'll lose people. You'll lose parts of yourself. But what you'll find is this: a deeper, quieter self who doesn't perform for applause, who doesn't chase validation, who doesn't fear stillness. This self is not built on should, it's built on truth. But truth is dangerous in a world built on performance. So don't expect everyone to celebrate your escape. Some will be confused, some will be threatened, some will tell you you've changed, and they'll be right. You have. You've chosen to disappoint others instead of betraying yourself. You've chosen discomfort over delusion. You've chosen the long road of inner peace over the fast track of external approval. And that choice is rare. So how do you stay on the path when it gets lonely? How do you hold your center when the world keeps pulling at your edges? You cultivate practices, not performances. This is not about doing more. It's about being differently. And it begins with the simplest habit you've forgotten. Silence. Yes, silence. You've been so busy proving your worth that you've forgotten how to hear your own voice. So you need to make space, real space. Space where you're not scrolling, not working, not fixing, not trying, just being. In the quiet, old stories will rise, shame will surface. Memories you buried will come back. Fears you silenced will scream. And that's good, because you cannot heal what you will not face. Let them rise, let them breathe, let them pass. Don't cling, don't run, don't analyze. Just observe, because beneath all that noise is the truth you've been running from and running toward at the same time. And here's what you'll begin to hear in that silence. A voice that doesn't speak in fear, a voice that doesn't demand perfection, a voice that doesn't shame you for being lost. It's quiet but clear, humble but firm, and it says something radical. You are already enough. Not because you've achieved enough, not because you've improved enough, not because you've been productive enough, but because being is enough. You are not a project. You are not a performance. You are not a brand. You're a human being, messy, changing, incomplete, sacred. When you begin to live from this place, from the recognition that you don't need to become worthy, you change the whole game. You stop chasing. You start choosing. You stop performing. You start creating. You stop pretending. You start living. And people will notice. Not because you're louder, flashier, more impressive, but because you're grounded. You carry a calm that can't be faked, a softness that doesn't weaken you, a confidence that comes not from knowing everything, but from accepting that you don't need to. That's the paradox of escaping expectations. You don't become more polished. You become more real. And real is rare. Real is magnetic. Real is unstoppable. So what does this look like in everyday life? It looks like saying no when your old self would have said yes out of fear. It looks like showing up without needing to prove your worth. It looks like working toward goals that feel aligned, not just impressive. It looks like rest without guilt, joy without justification, grief without shame. It looks like creating art, even if no one applauds, speaking your truth, even if your voice shakes, choosing solitude, even if it means disappointing those who expected you to be always available. It looks like trusting that your life doesn't need to go viral to be valid. It looks like redefining success as something internal, not measurable by followers, wealth, or applause, but by peace, authenticity, and presence. And slowly over time, the bars of your old prison begin to vanish. You don't escape in a blaze of glory. You dissolve the walls. One breath, one truth, one choice at a time. Now you've begun to feel it, haven't you? That subtle shift. The moment when you wake up and no longer dread the day ahead because it's no longer built around proving something. The quiet confidence when someone misunderstands you and you no longer rush to correct them. The sudden ease when you're alone and it doesn't feel like failure. It feels like freedom. But this phase is delicate because escaping the prison is not a one-time breakout. It's a daily decision, a decision to walk away from the familiar voices that once ruled you, to stay true to your values when it would be easier to fold, to live with the discomfort of not performing in a world where performance is currency. And this is where most people get pulled back, not because they're weak, but because they underestimate how powerful the pull of the past can be, especially when the world keeps inviting you back into the prison with applause, praise, and promises of being somebody. Let me tell you something true and uncomfortable. The world wants you to stay in your prison. Because if you're free, you're unpredictable. And if you're unpredictable, you're hard to control. And if you're hard to control, you're a threat to systems built on compliance. Schools don't teach you to be free. They teach you to obey, to sit down, to memorize, to raise your hand and wait your turn. Jobs don't reward authenticity. They reward consistency, predictability, silence. Social media doesn't care about your soul. It cares about your output, your image, your metrics. So when you start choosing authenticity over appearance, peace over performance, inner truth over outer validation, you will feel alone. Not because you are alone, but because you've stepped out of a trance that most people are still living inside of. This is where resilience is born. Resilience isn't about powering through pain. It's about protecting your essence in the face of pressure. It's about remembering who you are, even when the world tries to make you forget. And to protect that freedom, you'll need more than awareness and unlearning. You'll need a new rhythm, not a productivity system, not a morning routine with 10 hacks. A rhythm, a way of moving through life that nourishes your inner self rather than draining it. So ask yourself, what makes me feel spacious, not frantic? What restores me instead of numbing me? What relationships nourish my truth instead of suffocating it? What environments remind me who I really am? Start building your life around these answers. Not perfectly, not overnight, but intentionally. Because the prison of expectation will always be waiting, like an old jacket hanging by the door, whispering, just wear me one more time. It'll be easier. You have to learn to walk past it again and again and again. Here's the truth people won't tell you. Freedom is not always comfortable. In fact, it's often lonelier than the prison, because the prison came with applause, with status, with the illusion of certainty, but freedom comes with space, with silence, with responsibility. In the prison, you could blame others, your boss, your parents, your partner, your past. Out here in the open, it's just you, your choices, your consequences, your truth. And while that might sound heavy, it's actually sacred.